Well, howdy. I'm back. The weather is terrible here in the southern Appalachians, the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's cold, it's raining. All the projects I want to do outside I can't do. So here I am doing inside stuff. Got another little unboxing here. Figured why not? Got to do something. Weather's too bad to get outside and do anything. I've got, I don't know how many chainsaws. I can't even count that high. But I've worn them all out. They're all old. I've got a Echo that's 46 years old. Can't get parts for it anymore. Got a little 14-inch home light that's just not big enough to get the job done on a lot of projects. So I've been shopping around, and those of you who know me, some of you say I'm cheap, others say I'm thrifty. I'm going to go with thrifty. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I shopped around on the internet quite a bit. Shopped around at Harbor Freight. Started to buy chainsaw at Harbor Freight, and my local Harbor Freight was out of them and couldn't tell me when they were going to be in again. So I started looking on the internet, and I came up with this one. It's a Supmix, S-U-P-M-I-X, Chinese chainsaw, just like everything else seems to be anymore. It's the Supmix 6250. It's a 62cc, 20-inch chainsaw. And I looked at 5 different reviews of the top 5 chainsaws for 2024. And on those 5 different reviews, the Supmix was in the top 5 in every one of them. And the price point was excellent. It's about $100 right now. At the time of this video, you can get it on Amazon for around $170. So I was pleased with that for a 20-inch 62cc chainsaw. I didn't think that was too bad a price. So full disclosure, I've already opened it once to get the manuals out to look at them before I started this video, to kind of have a little bit of information. It came in a bigger box, an Amazon, typical Amazon box. This was inside the big Amazon box. So let's see what you get. Hope you can hear me okay. It's raining on the tin roof of my workshop. But when you open the box, here's what you get. There's the bar with a nice guide, nice cover, excuse me, and 18 and 20. It's a 20-inch bar, and I guess they use this same cover. If it's an 18, cut it right there to use it on an 18-inch saw. This is a 20-inch. So we got the bar. Let's see. There's the cover with the chain brake built onto it. Something I'll point out right now, I was doing my research, watching other videos, several people talked about bending the chain adjustment screw. Every other chainsaw I own, the adjustment screw is not on this cover, it's on the body of the chainsaw. So when you take this cover off and on, the adjustment screw is over here on the back side of the bar. This one is actually on the chain cover. So my thought is that the people who have had problems with bending it is when they go to put this on, if they're not lining this pin up with the hole in the bar, and then they force this thing on, they're going to bend it. I don't know that that's what's happening, but if you run into that, if you get one of these Supmix and you see other people having that problem, that could be what's happening. So I'm going to look at that very closely when I start putting it together. What else have we got here? We've got a tool bag. I have not opened this. I did say I've opened the box. I have not opened the tool bag. Okay, some Allen wrenches, 4 millimeter, a 3 millimeter. Doesn't say what this one is, or maybe that's just the handle. Well, no, it's an Allen wrench. 4 millimeter, 3 millimeter. This one looks like another 4. Doesn't say, but I guess you'll use it to find out. We have the typical chainsaw screwdriver. Here's the spark plug. I don't know if this is an extra one or if I have to put it in. What else is in here? All right, there's the tooth guide. That's got to be put on. Then extra, I see the pulleys already on there. So I guess you get a spare one in case it breaks. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. There's a small screwdriver, I'm assuming, to adjust the chain tightness. Boy, I don't know how much torque you can get with that little handle. And last but not least, a file for sharpening your chain. We'll get into the chain in a minute. I wrote this down. I'll go ahead and do that now. It is a 3/16 file. It's according to the manual. It's a 3/16 file is the size you'll need if you have to go buy one. So that's everything in the little tool bag. Lay these over here out of the way. Try not to make this too long-winded. But the weather's so bad I can't do anything. All right, fuel mixing jug. That's pretty neat. If you'll look in the manual, this bottle is set up to do a 25-to-1 ratio, which is what they recommend for this salt. 25-to-1, 25 gas to 1 part oil. And I always use ethanol free. I am not putting ethanol in any carbureted engine that I own. I run it in my vehicles that have electronic ignition, but any of my vehicles that have a carburetor, I use ethanol free, non-F. So you'll pour the gas in up to here and pour the oil in. And to get a 25-to-1, it says in the manual that you get them level, get the fuel amounts level here, and then you mix it, and that gives you your 25-to-1. So that's a simplified way of doing it, I guess. Here's a funnel. Boy, that's a nice funnel. Thick, heavy. What else we got? All right, here's the chain. Does that look familiar? Just glancing at that box, if you didn't look at that name, looks very familiar. Colors, everything. Now this is odd. It says 325 pitch, 76 drive length, high quality saw chain from STOHF, the Chainsaw Experts. Someone's trying to call me while I'm... Oh well, I don't think it's interfering with filming. Is it going to start over? Well, we had a little problem there with the camera. I'm filming this on my phone. Someone tried to call me. So as far as I know, we're still good to go. Looks like we are. Yeah. Yeah, but it gives the pitch and the drive length, but it doesn't give the gauge. But according to the manual, it's a .058 gauge chain, 20 inch. So I'll give you those stats. Do that right now so you'll have them. It's a 20 inch, 325 pitch, which is what that says on here. A .058 gauge, 76 drive lengths. And according to the manual, and I found it very odd, in this manual, gives the list here, and it says the specifications, trying to get under the light, specifications are on page 28. So let's go back here to page 28. Well, lo and behold, there's page 26, there's page 27. There is no page 28. So, go figure. But here are the specifications on page 27. The saw chain, 325.058, just like it said, doesn't give the drive lengths on here. But this manual is for 2 different size saws from Supmix. So I'm assuming that's why, because a different length chain would be different drive lengths. But the 20 inch is 76 lengths. And it says that this is an Oregon 21 BP072 chain. So you can write that down. If you go to look for a chain, you can check the Oregon 21 BP072 and see if that comes up. But I'm thinking 072, I was thinking was the drive lengths in the Oregon chain. So if that's the case, if I'm correct on that, it would be an Oregon 21 BP 076 instead of 072. But we just have to look and see. But as long as you get the pitch and the gauge, then you can figure out the drive lengths based on the length of the chain. And I could be wrong on that 072. That may not have anything to do with the drive lengths. But at any rate, then we get to the main, oh God, that's heavy. Main body of the saw. Well, it's really not that heavy. I just caught it at a bad angle. A nice box it comes in. Got a pretty picture on it. That'll make a good target to shoot at with my pistol. So there's the main body of the saw, and to be perfectly honest with you, that's not bad looking. And again, it's a Chinese saw. I've been trying to buy some American stuff, and when I buy American stuff, after doing some research and looking in the manual at the fine print, I find out 90% of it was manufactured in China. So, or Korea. So, go figure. All right. Well, I gotta tell you, I'm impressed. This is not a bad looking saw. Boy, look at the clutch on this thing. And the sprocket is down in there behind the clutch there. This thing, very thick. It is plastic. There's no metal on the covers. This obviously is metal. But it's a very thick, heavy plastic. Doggone. I'm impressed. This thing looks nice. So I've got to assemble this stuff, and I'm not going to bore you with that because that's pretty standard. So I'll get it put together, and then we'll go from there. Okay, got her put together. Pretty straightforward. If you've ever had anything to do with the chainsaw, you won't have any trouble. I did find it a little bit aggravating getting the chain on the sprocket. I don't know if you noticed before I put it together, the clutch is very large on this saw, and it's hard to see the sprocket back over in there. And with my old 70-year-old operatic fingers that are numb from the cold we're in, I had a little bit of trouble making sure I had it on the sprocket good. But I got it on, no big deal. What was something else that I ran into? Oh yeah, I thought I had a broken saw at first. I squeezed the trigger, the throttle, and it would go about halfway and stop. I couldn't throttle it all the way, and if I pulled real hard, then it would jump all the way. So I took the cover off for the air filter. Take a quick look at it. And here's your spark plug wire. And this spark plug, you can see I've got it turned right here. Hopefully you can see it on camera. Get it under the light. I've got it at this angle. It was turned to where this wire was straight down, and it was running this way, and the throttle on the carburetor was hitting it and wouldn't go all the way. So I just rotated it up a little so that the throttle, get my finger on it, will now move and not hit it. So it was nothing major, but it was enough to make you think something was wrong until we checked it out. So that was really that, and getting the chain on the sprocket properly was the only things I really ran into. I've already put the fuel in it, and to give you an idea of the size of the fuel tank, it's not very big. I filled this up to here, filled the oil up to the same level, and mixed them, and then poured it in there, and it took about half of it. So that gives you an idea of how much fuel the gas tank holds. And this, as I predicted, is pretty much worthless. I haven't yet figured out what you do with it. It was no good tightening the chain. It's too small. So I'm not sure exactly what it's for. Now, I did mention that I had heard some people discussing bent screws on that chain adjustment screw. And I mentioned at the beginning of this video that it is on the outside and not on this side back here. And I was correct in thinking that when you put this cover on, if you do not adjust this screw to make sure you get the pin lined up with the hole on this bar, you are going to bend it. So that's probably what happened. So as I put it on, I turned this screw to make sure I got it lined up and into the hole properly. So just a few specs to go over. I was hoping to take it outside and cut, but it is raining like crazy right at the moment. So I'm going to try to get right here at the door and crack it, see how it cracks. I haven't done that yet. You have two manuals that come with this thing. We'll run across the specs real quick. I know this is getting long. This is the standard manual that comes with it. It's got pretty much everything you would see in a chainsaw manual with the specs at the back last page. And then you have this picture manual that gives you step-by-steps on putting it together, and it's for 5 different saws. This is the 6250, but it just shows you in picture form of everything you need to do. Here's a picture right here showing you to line that pin up with the hole and the bar. So that is something that I'm sure you want to make sure you do. So again, running across the specs real quick, the best I've been able to find out is the chain is a 325 pitch, 058 gauge, 76 length. It is a 20 inch. Looks like a very good chain. I like the looks of the teeth on this chain. Looks real good. And let's see, it's 20 inch bar, so 62cc. This is the Supmix 6250. Spark plug gap is a .065. Someone said that if you need to replace that air filter, a Craftsman air filter for their 46cc saw will work on this. Take that for what it's worth. And let's see, one other thing that someone mentioned they had had trouble with on their first use of this saw. Having a hard time getting it on camera, but the on-off switch here, they said that when they were pulling the cord, that if they turned it loose, it would come back, and they hit the switch twice and broke it. It's a simple toggle switch, but I'm kind of having a hard time figuring out how that happened from the angle, but obviously it did, or they wouldn't have said they did it. So anyhow, I'm impressed. It's looks like a real good saw. As soon as the weather breaks, we'll get outside and see if we can do some cutting with it. I'm going to see if I can get it over here to the door and crank it up. We'll see what it sounds like. Okay, we may wind up breaking this down into 2 videos. Getting long-winded, but let's give this thing a whirl and see what it'll do here. I don't see any oil coming from the chain and bar, so I'm gonna have to check that. It does have an adjustment setting for that down beside the cover there, so I'll check that. Make sure I'm getting oil to the bar. Cranked up nicely, has a ton of power. So overall, for the price, I'm very pleased with the feel and handling of this little saw, and we'll just see how it does. As soon as the weather breaks, we'll try to make a video of it cutting and see just what the Supmix 20 inch Chinese chainsaw will do. I'd call it maybe a steel knockoff. It's not a Husky, it's more like a steel. But we'll give it a whirl and see what it'll do. Hopefully it'll get the job done for me. I appreciate you visiting us here on the Double M Farm, and talk to you again real soon.